Sometimes something comes served exactly right for the taking, like a pallet of bricks showing up at a protest. In this case, it's a perfect example of why politics is the sphere of the stupid and illiterate. That being, the hordes of people who simply believe what they're told because it came from a preferred source, and who have no desire for facts, evidence, and logic. Today's contender for the petty tyrant bootlicker relying on the servile and vapid behavior of their constituents award is Ted Cruz, who either can't read himself or who is counting on the stupidity of his constituents to allow literally incorrect statements to be accepted as correct, even when his sources he posts disagree with him. I already started to respond to him in a sweaty I just woke up video on Twitter. Take it away, Les Kempt me. So, I just woke up, and one of the first things I do when I wake up is I check social media notifications. And I'll probably do a broader video on this subject because it's pretty tasty to say that Ted Cruz can't fucking read. But this is just a little taste of what might be to come in that regard because let me be very specific. I think being able to accurately convey dictionary definitions might need to be a prerequisite for being involved in representation in the U.S. government. That is unless the U.S. government wants to look stupid, which, again, I've made the case for before. If they look stupid, then they can get away with a lot of pretty smart stuff. That said, Ted Cruz says that the people involved in these protests are all anarchists, and as evidence of this, one who uses violent means to overthrow the established order, that being a Merriam-Webster's definition. Well, first off, Merriam-Webster's didn't just say that. And when you use a definition, you need to use the whole definition. In this case, it says a person who believes in, advocates, or promotes anarchism or anarchy, especially one who uses violent means to overthrow the established order, which means that especially applies to the previous group, not like on its own. It's not an island. And what is anarchism? It's a political theory holding all forms of governmental authority to be unnecessary and undesirable, and advocating a society based on voluntary cooperation and free association of individuals and groups. You gotta prove they all believe that, Ted, and maybe learn to read, Zodiac Killer. So what? He got it wrong. What does that mean? Well, the easy and fun answer is that he's simply stupid and does not know that the whole definition is what you go by, not just the part that confirms your biases. I mean, looking at him like, yeah, I could see that one on the short bus. And if I were a different person, I might just leave it at that. Like, Gov's stupid, and no more work is required. But I'm the kind of asshole who doesn't think the government is stupid, because I think obvious flaws like these are intentionally put out there in order to have an air of humanity, along with the idea that they're not doing this intentionally. Because if you think they're stupid, you'll never appreciate the full potential for the intelligence of their actions and the wide, far-reaching conspiracy in which they engage. It's all a setup, like pallets of bricks at a protest. So, what is Ted Cruz trying to do here? Well, I think the answer's obvious. He's trying to get a bunch of unthinking, mimicking supporters to spread the age-old propagandist lie that all anarchists want is chaos and nothing else. And why would the elites try to spread this kind of lie? The answer to that is obvious. If you spread the lie that anarchists simply want chaos and have no philosophical underpinnings or goals, you can ignore all of those points and all of the people making them. and simply call them agents of chaos which must be suppressed. Suppressed by, for instance, a massive military surge on home soil, for instance, boosted by the current Republican in charge, the success of whom will boost not only your own success as a conservative, but also the success of future people in power and those to whom you are beholden. Because you see, there are enough anarchists at this point that we're considered a threat, a big enough threat that Trump wants to call us terrorists, preemptively to any terror having actually been committed. So the more these people can pump out propaganda, the more justification they'll have to test a massive new control net that they've built with the justification of COVID-19, an AI-driven massive superstate control grid purpose-built to track, control, and ultimately prevent crime. And by crime, I mean that of which the state does not approve, because they've mangled the definition of crime in order to allow for the prosecution of those who have not created a victim. This is why anarchists are so threatening to them. Our general philosophy of no victim, no crime would put a lot of these parasites out of business were it to come into a wide societal adoption. So they enlist the help of a bunch of convenient looters, whether unintentionally by way of never letting a good crisis go to waste like so many of these elites constantly parrot, taking advantage of an opportune situation where there are a bunch of people causing chaos, or whether by planning the whole thing, so that there's enough chaos that people remember why they need the state.
What we need right now is a clear message to the people of this country. This message must be read in every newspaper, heard on every radio, seen on every television. This message must resound throughout the entire interlink. I want this country to realize that we stand on the edge of oblivion. I want every man, woman, and child to understand how close we are to chaos. I want everyone to remember why they need us.
In the former United States, civil war continues to devastate the Midwest.
Scientists attribute this latest water shortage to the lack of rainfall the last 2 years. Ministry officials expect water coupon prices to rise.
Police have arrested 9 suspects.
Can you believe this shit?
Reporting avian flu
Going on all
vaccine.
summer.
Outside the quarantine zone, a new airborne pathogen has killed 27 people.
Authorities have uncovered new evidence linking the terrorist organization called
professional anarchists, violent mobs, arsonists, looters, criminals, rioters, Antifa, and others,
to the St. Mary's viral attack on London 14 years ago.
Much like leaving bricks for a bunch of protesters, they've enlisted the help of looters to perpetuate the current social order and make excuses for all the millions of abuses and usurpations that would have made the founders have an apoplectic seizure. Just imagine anything that upsets you that the government does, and imagine them explaining away their need to do it because they're the only thing standing between you and people like that. Imagine them who rely on theft, brutality, and murder telling you that looters are suddenly a problem now because they're private sector. That's what this kind of language is intended to do. It's intended to excuse the current social order and discourage any deviation from it. By appealing to the base instincts and fears of constituencies who don't bother to read past this tweet and actually look at reality. You see, in factuality, Ted Cruz can in fact read. He just thinks you're too stupid to read for yourself. So he'll post something for you to read and simply hope you'll believe him and not do any research for yourself. He'll do it because he thinks you're stupid, and he thinks he doesn't have to present any facts in order to get you to believe whatever narrative conforms to your existing biases. In this case, the bias of rightism, the bias that says there was a better time before they got power that we need to get back to in order to make America great again. You see, people are getting too uppity. They're thinking for themselves too much. They should stop that before they hurt themselves or destroy society. Too much anarchist info is out there, and too many people are spreading it too well, and we can't have that, or you might as well burn your town down yourself. At least that's what this wannabe boomer wants you to believe. I mean, he's Gen X, but he talks like someone who thinks music will make your kids school shooters. Every bit as alarmist as Tipper Gore, with none of the energy and even less charisma. But yeah, listen to a guy who fucks up Merriam-Webster definitions. I'm sure his guidance will lead this country to a beautifully regressive future where everyone in the country reads at his level and computers have been abolished as devil magic. What could possibly go wrong? Or you could think for yourself and stand up for rulerless freedom, the real definition of anarchy, rather than bowing down and being a servile beast for those who believe you to be exactly this fucking stupid. Me? I'm all about chaos control. And Ted, you're too fucking slow.